Alright, so there are two more things before we wrap up this middleware series. The first is basically if we want to pass a certain parameters to our middleware, how we can do that. Let's see in an action. So let's spin up our application. Alright, so when we were loading our application, we were not able to see our main page because we were getting the 403 error. So which I have defined the about method here and then give this as a 403 error. Now what I basically want is that I want to pass a request to this or an extra parameter to this middleware. So let's say for an example, I say bypass check for an instance, and let's set this to as false. And what I mean by this is basically if this bypass check is set to true, then what it should do is basically it should check if it is true, then it should directly go to the next request. So let's quickly apply that condition here first. So I will say if bypass is true, then use this condition. Alright, and if I reload the page, I am still seeing this as this condition is still being applied. And if I want to go to the web.php here and I want to give this the parameter, so all I need is basically I need to copy this variable and give the value of true. Now if I reload, I am now bypassed this condition. How cool is that? So based on that, you can provide the parameters and extra parameters to your middlewares. Now lastly, there is one more thing, is if you want your middleware to do some stuff after this condition has been rendered. For an example, if there is a 403 error occurred, you want to make sure that the middleware does some kind of action. For an example, let's say log something into the Laravel log file. So let's do that. In order to do so, we have to create a new function, public function terminate, and this function accepts the two things. It accepts the request and response. So this will accept the request and response, and in the response what we want is basically when this middleware is done on this function, run this function. So let's say log and info. So this means like middleware has ran successfully, just for an example. And now if I run the condition on that, and let's go to the log files, now you see middleware has ran successfully. Now depending upon certain conditions, like if you want to send an email, you can also trigger an email from this function. If you want to maybe show some kind of error messages, and when the user clicks on that, you can also do certain type of things behind the scenes. So these things will not be visible or viewable to the front-end users, but for an instance they can access, or you can send an email to the users which is saying like, hey, you are not an admin. Or just an example, if the user is trying to access the admin pages and you want to notify the admin, like that user is basically trying to access this middleware or this page, so you need to keep and check the report on that. So for that purpose you can use these terminate middlewares as well. So the terminate functions. All right, so with that our middleware section has come to conclusion, and I will see you in the next section with some new things. That's about it, and I will see you in the next one.